Good evening and welcome to the Dollar Dogs and Beer podcast. I am your host, Andrew. Joining me tonight, I've got Joe along for the ride. And Joe, as you can see, I am not in the friendly confines of the normal orange dining room where I usually broadcast from. A little bit of house issues last week. We had rain coming in apparently through the roof and down the walls, although we're still not 100% sure how that's happened, as we are still waiting on the insurance adjuster over a week later. Isn't that awesome? How you doing, dude?
I guess better than that. Sorry, man.
What can you do? Shit happens. That's pretty much that has to be my guiding motto right now, not only for life but for baseball, because if I don't, I'm going to go nuts. So, Joe, what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I've got some SoCo and Diet Dew mixed in a little bottle over here, so I'm just enjoying that this evening.
Yeah, to keep it chill and mellow. So for me tonight, my parents brought this back from Maine. This is the Endless Ride Kettle Sour. It's like a blueberry lemon shandy, but it's also a sour. Really, really nice can art. Every time they go up to Maine, they always bring my wife and I back locally brewed beer, which I appreciate because they always bring me back something I've never seen before. So love that. And wouldn't be upset if Pennsylvania would make the alcohol laws change a little bit so we can get some more of these out-of-state craft breweries down here, because it's some delicious beer. All right, before we roll into the big topics tonight, we had two players pass away recently. 2 weeks ago, Dave Parker passed away. He passed away on June 28th. 74 years old. For this one was tough. I felt for Parker's family because he had just finally gotten elected to the Hall of Fame via committee, and to get that close, and the fact that he won't be there on the stage, that really kind of sucks. He was a hell of a player. One-time MVP award, 7-time All-Star. He had 2 World Series rings. He won a home run derby, 3 Golden Gloves. He had the batting title twice, 3 Silver Sluggers. Had an All-Star game MVP under his belt as well. 40.1 WAR for the career, 339 home runs. He was a right fielder. Great glove. He always had good speed out there. That always showed a little bit on the base paths. He has a couple 20 stolen base seasons. He was always a very, very good average guy. I mean, a career 290, 339, 471 line. He was one, Joe, I remember when we were talking about him in the offseason after we found out the committee elections. He was one that you and I were both a little surprised that it took this long, because he was a fantastic player, definitely one of the best the Pirates have ever had. It's just a pity he had to die right before his induction.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that things went down the way that they did for him, and I hope that there's a strong showing from the family and former teammates and stuff. And I believe that's August when that happens, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
So hopefully there's a really strong showing to support him and the family and recognize his contributions, to be sure.
Yeah. And then just last week, a much more recent guy, Bobby Jenks, he just passed away. It was only like 2 days ago, if I remember right. He had a really aggressive form of stomach cancer, and quite sad there. He was only 44 when he passed away. He was a closer, instrumental to the White Sox 2005 World Series title. He had 2 All-Star appearances, 173 career saves. He's probably not a guy that you'll ever see going to Cooperstown. The save count's really not high enough, and he had a very short peak. But in that peak, I mean, Bobby Jenks was absolutely one of the best closers in the game. His 2 All-Star years, I mean, he had 41 saves in 06 and 40 saves in 07. He was one of the most important linchpins to that White Sox World Series run, and you always hate to hear somebody dying from cancer.
Yeah, it was certainly a legendary run, a couple years for him, and it was really nice to see. There were a ton of teams that did some sort of video package for him.
Mm-hmm.
The Cubs for sure obviously did one, and even the bitterest of rivalries gets put aside for something like this. So
Absolutely.
It was nice of the Cubs to do that. Nice of the other teams in the league to do that, and recognize his contributions.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's, if baseball's a brotherhood. There's times you want to beat the ever loving hell out of your brother, but there's also times to honor your brother as well. All right. So last week the All Star rosters and starters were announced, and now we have, I think, all the reserves are finally. And now let's remember things will change between now and then because players that are hurt that will not be participating will be replaced. For instance, Chris Sale of Atlanta. So here's our rosters. Here's the starters for the American League. Catching is going to be Cal Raleigh, first base Vlad Guerrero Jr., second base Gleyber Torres, third base Jose Ramirez, shortstop Jacob Wilson, outfielders Aaron Judge, who is the leading vote getter in the American League, Riley Green from Detroit, and Javier Baez from Detroit. I was smiling for you, Joe, when I saw that. DH Ryan O'Hearn from Baltimore. The starters for the National League catching is going to be Will Smith of the Dodgers. First base, Freddie Freeman of the Dodgers. I was not upset by that one. Sorry, Pete. Second base, Ketel Marte of Arizona. Manny Machado at third from San Diego. Shortstop, Francisco Lindor of the Mets. Outfielders, Ronald Acuna Jr. of Atlanta. Pete Crow Armstrong of the Cubbies. Kyle Tucker of the Cubbies. And then DH, who was also the top vote getter from the National League, was Shohei Ohtani. So that was our starters. I didn't have too many quibbles and qualms with the starters this year, Joe. I usually have more like, are you serious? Questions like that. But I think by and large, I don't think the fans screwed it up too badly this year. I thought Javi Baez was a really pleasant surprise to see coming out of the American League. I personally had picked one of Oakland's outfielders. I can't think off the top of my head, but the American League, I was very pleased with the picks there by the fans. National League, Will Smith. I'd love to not pick Will Smith every year, but he's as consistent batting as Freddie Freeman is. It's ridiculous how often you can expect those two guys to be hitting in the 320s, 330s, and how can you not put the vote in when you're hitting that consistently?
Yeah, I mean, when you continue to deliver, you get rewarded. So,
so I know probably, at least from the NL side, the pick, at least for the starters, most people are going to be questioning is going to be, of course, Ronald Acuna Jr. Acuna did not play the entire first half of the year, or the first, about month and a half, because he was coming back from
probably,
injury.
yeah. Month and a half at least.
Yeah. So I get it. And I will say, I did not have him on my ballots. I did put him on my final couple ballots that I submitted, but he was not on my ballots for quite a while because I didn't think he had put up enough numbers. And then he got hot and really fell right in line with the other leaders. In the case of Acuna, I wasn't looking so much at average because obviously his average is going to be a bit inflated, by playing fewer games. So I was looking more at the pure power numbers, and to me, the power numbers are there. He's starting to run the bases. His defense has looked absolutely fine since he's come back. What were your thoughts? Did you think, now, with the caveat that, yes, this is fan voting, it's in Atlanta, so of course there's going to be a sentimental pick there. Do you think Acuna was the right choice to be named the last starter in the outfield, or do you think it should have gone somewhere else?
I would have less of an issue if, I think, given the shorter time frame. And I think the thing for me as someone who, looks at some of those numbers, it's to not put a caveat on it, like somewhere in the ballot, so that people know that these numbers are for May to June.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a way to kind of curtail some of this. I wouldn't have picked I wouldn't have, and I didn't pick Acuna in the one ballot I put in. But I wouldn't have been disappointed if he had been picked as a reserve. That would have made sense to me.
Truthfully, I was expecting him to make it as a reserve. I was
Right.
shocked he was made a starter.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think people have an issue with Acuna making it to the All-Star game. It's the fact that he is a starter for the All-Star game when you have guys who've produced better numbers over the entirety of the season so far. I think that's where the issue comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my only quabble with it is I feel like not really delineating that. And of course, you're just going to have fan voting. And when you can put 5 ballots a day for weeks, like
Yeah.
it's a little ridiculous what turns out of this. I mean, um, fan voting in general, I think that the American League wasn't as bad, like you said. I think the National League's where you saw it really kind of rear its ugly head in a lot of ways because you had, including Otani, 9 Dodgers as finalists.
Yeah, that was a
Like
lot, to say the least.
that's a little much. I mean, don't get me wrong, Mookie Betts is a fantastic player, but was he All-Star worthy this year? No.
No.
So to have some of those guys in the final round that maybe didn't deserve to be there,
Mm-hmm.
I think where my issue was. Um, I could have absolutely seen, um, you know, Teoscar make it in the outfield. Um, that would have made sense to me. Maybe even Andy Pages. I
Yeah.
think if I were replacing anybody starting wise or Acuna with anybody else on the ballot, I think those were the two that made the most sense to me.
I feel like Pajes was the guy I had on initially, in addition to PCA and Tucker. Because like I said, I read off my initial ballot over the air, and I did not have. I think the only homer pick I made was the only serious homer pick I made was Austin Riley. I did not pick Acuna in that ballot because he had only been back for a week and a half at that point. And I might have picked Ozuna just because I knew Shohei was going to get the DH, and it was just kind of more of a spiteful homer pick than anything else. Because Ozuna is not worthy of the All-Star for the DH. That's we'll talk about that one a little bit with snubs, because there is a guy that both you and I think agree should absolutely be on there as DH, but of course they won't carry 3 DHs. So, but we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, honestly, the fans didn't do as awful as they normally do. Let's just leave it at that, because there have been years, and I'm going to be honest with it. Being in Atlanta, Atlanta's got a huge fan base and a lot of social media to rally said base, including private groups. I'm very surprised that many Atlanta fans stuck to their guns this year and said, yeah, we have the All-Star game, but our players are not performing like they should be in it, so they're not getting our votes right now. And I a lot of respect to the people that did that, because, there's, I remember when I'd go to games and they'd hand us the paper ballots to fill out, years and years ago, pre-internet. I always filled out, it's like, all right, home team, because I'd usually go down to Baltimore. All right, National League, brave. You always did that as a kid. So it's nice to see, because we don't see it often with when you have the All-Star game in a place. You don't often see the home team's fans not try to load the entire starting 9 with their roster. So that was nice to see. Even if Acuna might have been the reason why Acuna snuck in as a starter. What do you think? Maybe do something like fan vote counts for 50%, player vote counts for the other 50%, or
Maybe I feel like I feel like the 5 ballots a day thing is a little stupid.
yeah,
I feel like that should be 1 ballot a day if you're going to allow multi-day voting. It's a little ridiculous to me.
And especially with the reserves weren't or the not the reserves, the second round balloting wasn't 5 a day, if I remember right, too.
No, it was like 1.
So
It was 1 a day. Like you had 1 ballot and that was it. I'd prefer it to go 1 ballot entirely, but if you're gonna do this daily voting thing, then 1 ballot a day at max, because this is ridiculous. Because I don't know that, like, Do I think that Shohei is going to be the leading vote getter anyway? Yes.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if that number were a little close to more realistic.
It honestly makes me wonder if the 5 votes in the initial round is to inflate the numbers so the lead vote getter, so that number looks super high.
I mean,
Like, not to sound conspiratorial, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the logic behind it because it just inflates the number a little bit. It leads to the stuffing that you see where you have 9 Dodger finalists. Like that's where that comes from. 5 ballots a day for what,
Yeah.
3 weeks?
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. So, I mean, 1 ballot a day at most would be a nice change. I think another thing that would be a nice change is if you have a leading vote getter, they have to play the entirety of the game. This thing where they have 1 at bat or 2 at bats is
Mm-hmm.
really stupid.
Well, let's be
You have
realistic.
you have this random, you have a random, person like a Kyle Stowers or something like that from the Marlins who will get in and play, like make the game-winning hit or something like that in the 8th inning, and it's like you see the guys who are the best in the league, your starters, play 2 innings tops. It's a little stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, Stowers was a guy I was a little surprised that he made the roster, to be honest. But if I'm looking right, I think he's probably the token Florida pick because everybody has to get someone. Yeah, I don't think they had anybody. Yeah, they didn't have anybody else. So, that is
you could. I mean, you couldn't pick Sandy because he's got a 7 ERA. So
yeah, and
I mean,
even though
they easily could have made a
corner.
Yeah, okay.
That's
turning shit.
That's front office talk for we're trying to trade him and we're trying to up his value so we can actually get something and not just some washed up prospects because that's all he's worth right now. Now, could he bounce back and be better next year? Absolutely. He's not worth a top 30 prospect for maybe though.
No, and he's in a walk year. So this is like,
yeah.
It's insane what they're trying to do to get his price up. From being a Cy Young 2 years ago, like
yeah, Cy Young and
he's a far cry from his previous self.
3 years ago, he's Cy Young in 22.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, he does that. Well, no, he does have 1 year left and then a team option for 27. So, okay. Yeah, so there is a little bit of team control here. Here's the problem. That team option's a $21 million option and next year's 17.3.
Thanks.
17.3. I don't know about you, Joe. As a part team owner, 17.3 is a little rich for a 5 starter because that's what he's worth right now. It's number 5.
Yeah, that's a no.
Yeah, that's a no for me too. Unless I can maybe, hey, if they'd accept a trade in like 20 pounds of black and catfish, I'd do that. And hey, we've seen players trade for 20 pounds of black and catfish in the past because baseball's old as hell.
Yeah.
All right, here's the reserve. So for the American League, catching is going to be Alejandro Kirk. Completely agree with that one. Your infielders, Jonathan Aranda from Tampa Bay, Alex Bregman from Boston, Jazz Chisholm from New York. That one surprised me a little bit. Brandon Lowe from Tampa, Jeremy Pena from Houston, and Bobby Witt Jr. of Kansas City. Again, these are alphabetized. That's why Witt's so low, because let's be real, Witt's damn near the starter. I was surprised that Witt wasn't able to pull ahead of Wilson in the fan voting because Witt's an extremely popular player. But I think that was the right call, though. I think Witt should be the backup. I think Jacob Wilson's having a phenomenal year. He was actually my pick on my ballots for AL shortstop.
Yeah, I mean, he's having a phenomenal rookie year, and he earned it. I have no qualms about it. I was, as like you said, as popular as Bobby Witt is, like, if the numbers don't justify it, the numbers don't justify it.
Nope.
and Wilson's having a phenomenal season so far.
Yeah. Probably gonna. It might be a little early to call it, but he might have the AL Rookie of the Year award wrapped up by the end of July. The rate he's going.
It's possible, yeah. I do think it'll come down to him and Cam Smith probably at this point.
Yeah, agreed. And then let's see here. Outfield reserves: Byron Buxton, Stephen Kwan, Julio Rodriguez. No arguments really from me there. And then backup DH was Brent Rooker out of Oakland. Rooker's fine. He's having a good year. I almost wonder if that spot could have been used for, for one of the, hey, we need to bring somebody from the White Sox over, because the White Sox pick was Shane Smith. And now this goes back to my idea that not everybody should have somebody at the All-Star game, but not to take any, Shane Smith's a rookie. He's, and his numbers are rookie-like. He's 3-7 in 17 starts, a 4.20 ERA. He struck out 76, walked 37, allowed 7 home runs. He leads the American League in hit batsman at 10. Bravo, kid. Keep that up. And his whip's nice, hefty 1.327. I've very much disagreed for years that every team should have a rep, because your rep should still be somebody who at least deserves to be there. And Joe, I don't know about you. Shane Smith's numbers do not scream to me in any way, shape, or form that he should be there. Although, to be fair, there is nobody on that roster that screams to me I should be at the All-Star game either, because, again, we should not be sending a rep from every team.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the eye test when it comes to Shane Smith, the other than some of this, like the hit batsmen and some of those other stats, part of that is because of who else is on that roster and not really having run support and those kind of things, and so I think some of his numbers are a bit inflated. The stuff is really good. White Sox fans in general are pretty excited about a guy like him. He's been, outside of the record and some of the stats, he's been pitching really well for them. And I think that's one of the reasons he's the most well-known guy on that roster besides Robert, and Robert looks like crap right now. So
yeah, but what about Andrew Benintendi though? Or not, not Benintendi, Miguel Vargas.
Yeah, I mean that wouldn't necessarily have been a bad choice, but he's a shortstop, I think.
Third base.
Third. So, I mean, is there a chance that Vargas gets on when Bregman doesn't play? Because I don't know if he's still hurt, isn't he?
I believe he is. Let me see if he's back yet.
I mean, there's certainly a chance that something like that happens where Vargas comes up, but it's hard to say. I mean, given the current setup the way it is, yeah, I mean, every team's got to have at least one. Do I think they deserve it? Probably not. But hey, in the current system you're in, he's probably the best option on that roster.
Yeah, Bregman's hoping to get back, hoping to return during the final series, the first half, July 10th. So hopefully the weekend series, they're hoping he's back.
Okay.
We will see.
Yeah.
We will see. Although, good news for Red Sox fans, it looks like Yoshida should be getting ready to come back against the in the Rocky series. So yeah, they've been waiting for him to come back. And now that they don't have a Diva Queen at DH, he can come back and be the DH, which, let's be real, that is the only position Yoshida should be playing with his noodle arm in the outfield. All right, so the pitchers for the American League: Hunter Brown of the Astros, Chris Bubic of the Royals, Garrett Crochet of the Red Sox, Jacob deGrom of the Rangers. Holy crap, deGrom has stayed healthy. Holy crap. Max Fried of the Yankees. That one hurts to stay. Yusei Kikuchi of the Angels. Tariq Skubal of the Tigers. Shane Smith of the White Sox. Brian Wu of the Mariners. Relievers: Aroldis Chapman of the Red Sox. Josh Hader of the Astros. and Andres Munoz of the Mariners. Munoz, absolutely. I would have been very disappointed if Munoz had not been the closer picked for the American League. That's great pitching up and down that. Other than Shane Smith, that's really good pitching. Shane Smith's the guy I hope they throw out there. As some of the starters are being swapped out, and hopefully Matt Olson takes him deep into the chop house since it's in Atlanta. All right, that's man. With that pitching, Joe, I'm wondering where the hell we're going to see runs for the National League, because that's going to be outside of Shane Smith, and maybe Chapman might be a weak link, because all Chapman does is throw gas, and if you can get on top of it, you can hit him hard. Granted, you got to swing real early. That's damn good pitching.
Yeah, he's mixed in some other stuff this year, I think, a little bit more. He's still 103 is still 103.
Yeah, so, even if it's straight, it's still 103.
It doesn't really matter. I think he certainly is having a year worthy enough of being, at the very least, considered, and the fact that he's there. I have less beef with that. I think people were surprised that, not necessarily surprised, but of all the pitchers that the Mariners have, to have Brian Wu be the starter that gets in. I don't know at the beginning of the year if people thought that was going to be the case. But Gilbert was on the IL for way too long.
Yeah. I wasn't too upset with the pick. He's having a solid season, 8-4, 277, 104 strikeouts and a .96 whip. I have no qualms with those numbers, putting him in.
I didn't either. I just thinking, before the season started, it's definitely not the name that you would have expected.
No, he's definitely not. The one thing I really like about Brian Wu, though, he commands the strike zone very well. He's only allowed 19 walks this year. It's not bad for 17 starts. Not quite Maddox-esque, because Maddox would have had 2 walks in 17 starts, but he's a legendary first-round Hall of Famer. Let's not put too much pressure on Mr. Wu here. And I know Kirby's been hurt too, because Kirby's my perennial pick for the Mariners pitcher every year. But he's been hurt also. So that's good pitching. Good luck, National League. That's a tough fight to go through. Looking on the other side, the reserves for the National League catcher is going to be Hunter Goodman of the Rockies, the token pick. Although I will say, if Hunter Goodman should be there. He has absolutely earned this spot to be the backup catcher for the National League. I have no issues with that pick at all. Pete Alonso, Ellie De La Cruz of the Reds, Alonso of the Mets, of course, Brandon Donovan of the Cardinals, Matt Olson of the Braves, Eugenio Suarez of the Diamondbacks, Corbin Carroll of the Diamondbacks, Kyle Stowers of the Marlins, Fernando Tatis Jr. of the Padres, James Wood of the Nationals, and Kyle Schwarber was the backup DH pick over National League RBI leader Seiya Suzuki. Seiya, it ain't so. I'm sorry. That's going to go in an obvious shirt. I'm going to get mocked for it, but still. that was you know me. I love Schwartz. Schwartz is one hell of a player. He shows it every year. Should he have been the backup ahead of Seiya?
Look,
you can be biased. It's okay. Current Cub versus former Cub.
Do I have a ton of beef with Schwarber being there? I guess, but I think the other thing you could have done, and of course this goes back to the every team needs a rep nonsense.
Yeah.
You could have very easily, considering he has played a decent chunk of the year in the outfield, you could have very easily put Seiya in as an outfielder. I don't really care where he was on the ballot. It really is inconsequential to me. He easily could have been an outfielder for the sake of the roster construction, if you will. But this is an exhibition game. Does that really matter? No, it doesn't.
No.
It's absolutely criminal that the guy who has more RBIs than anybody in the entire league, not to mention just the National League, the entire league
Yeah.
somehow is not in there. 76 RBIs after last night, which is 3 more than Suarez. It is 9 more than James Wood.
Yeah.
It's 10 more than his own freaking teammate, PCA, who deserves to be there. I'm not saying he doesn't, but like, to have the year that he's having, he's 16 RBIs above De La Cruz. He's 17 RBIs above Matt Olson. He's like
62 RBIs ahead of Ronald Acuna Jr.
Which, hey, you went there, not me. So whatever.
Hey, it needed to be said.
76 RBIs, 25 home runs. Which
he should be on that roster.
This is absolutely criminal to me, and I just don't get it.
Kyle Stowers
won't get it, and this is why the fan vote shit is stupid. Because I really don't care that Ohtani is the best player on God's green earth. He's not the best DH in the game this year.
No,
not even close. Not even close. This is why fan voting is stupid. One vote a day, and that's it. This 5 ballots a day bullshit is the reason you have he doesn't have the RBI lead. He doesn't have the home run lead. He probably doesn't have the average lead, and somehow he's the starting DH in the National League. Make it make sense, guys. Make it make sense.
All right, so so Kyle Stowers is clearly only there because the Marlins needed a rep. Let's compare Kyle Stowers, Seiya Suzuki, and Kyle Schwarber, because I like doing these kind of things. Schwarber leads WAR. He's got 2.8. Suzuki's got 2.1. Stowers has 1.7. Schwarb's got the plate appearances at 397 to 382 to 322. Hits is Seiya at 91. Schwarber has 82. Stowers has 80. Home runs, Schwarber does lead that at 27 versus 25 to 16. RBIs, Seiya 77 to 63 to 46. I'm actually moderately impressed Schwarber has stolen 8 bases this year, though, because I've never really that's definitely not a part of his game I ever think about, because it's not really there. I'll give Stowers the batting average. He's got a 280s. Suzuki's at 263, 251 for Schwarber. Schwarber's got the OBP at 383. Seiya's got the slugging at 561. I'm sorry. The fact that Seiya is off this roster because of Kyle Stowers is ridiculous.
I mean, assuming that's why, because like you said, he wasn't an outfielder on the ballot. So, I mean, is it because of Stowers? Is it because of Corbin Carroll, who happens to be hurt, I believe, and doesn't have the only advantage that Corbin Carroll has on Seiya Suzuki is OPS, and it ain't by much. So the fact that Corbin Carroll is in there above Seiya Suzuki even is stupid. It's absolutely stupid.
Yeah, no arguments for me there. I'm just checking the split.
And again, like you could with the DH situation, there's no way that Seiya shouldn't be the starting DH and Schwarber be the backup, because Ohtani's numbers aren't even close to either one of those guys right now.
Let's see here. Let's pull it up. By the way, it's 2/3 to 1/3 for Seiya for DH to outfield. So, I would say nominally yes. That's why they did that. All right. Ohtani is how the hell does Ohtani have 4 WAR already? I swear to God. Okay.
Because he walks out of the dugout and he already has 2.
All right. So Ohtani leads in hits 97 to 91. He leads home runs 30 to 25. Again, RBI 77 to 56 in the favor of Seiya. 12 stolen base to 2. Batting average is only 278 to 263 Ohtani, 380 to 319 OBP for Ohtani, 610 to 561 slugging to Ohtani, OPS 991 to 880 to Ohtani. So, the majority of categories do go to Ohtani. I will say this. I think they need to recalculate WAR slightly and devalue stolen bases just a touch, because I think some of the inflated WAR numbers you see is from the speed burners. So it's probably something that Baseball Reference needs to look into adjusting. That said, buddy, I hate to say it, Shohei does deserve to be there. Whether he should be the starter or not, but Shohei did earn the spot. Yeah. But
the thing is that he could be third in the list with the numbers, and he would still get in as the starter. I think that's my larger point.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think Otani's birthday was yesterday, and MLB's like first tweet of the day is that it's Shohei's birthday, and it's like the guy walks out of his hotel room and he has 4 WAR on the day. Like, it's stupid.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
All right. He pitched 1 inning and they wanted to give him the Cy Young already. Like,
and it wasn't even a good inning. Let's be real.
No.
All right, pitchers for the National League: left-hander Matthew Boyd of the Cubbies, left-hander Mackenzie Gore of the Nationals, left-hander Clayton Kershaw of the Dodgers, who was a legend pick made by the commissioner, right-hander Freddie Peralta of the Brewers, left-hander Robbie Ray of the Giants, left-hander Chris Sale of the Braves, who won't be there, he is injured, right-hander Paul Skeens of Pittsburgh, who I'm sure will, of course, get the starting nod, because of course he will. Right-hander Logan Webb of the Giants. Right-hander Zach Wheeler, who really should get the starting nod. Right-hander Yoshinobu Yamamoto of the Dodgers. The relievers, we have Jason Adams of the Padres, Edwin Diaz of the Mets, and Randy Rodriguez of the Giants. Wow, the National League is very right-handed heavy this year, isn't it? I still like our pitching for the NL. I do. I think I do like the AL's pitching better, though.
Can someone explain to me how Suarez from the Padres didn't make this as a reliever?
I cannot. Let me pull up
The guy has been lights out, except for the one time that he hit Otani and then got suspended for 3 games.
Well, that's probably why he's not in there. He hit the Golden Boy. We can't have that. You know that, Joe. Come on.
The guy has been objectively and
yeah, he is the
my adulting reliever.
Yeah, he is the National League save leader. That's I hadn't realized that, because I hadn't done a deep dive in the pitchers yet. Yeah. Anyway, I wonder why he isn't on there. That is, it was Adams, Diaz, and Rodriguez. Yeah, Edwin Diaz. I don't have a qualm with Edwin Diaz being on there. He's earned his way back on it. Trevor McGill could have been a pick. Emilio Pagan could have been a good pick. Why?
I'd like to see them change some of this voting, and maybe they change when the game actually happens. Hear me out.
I'm listening.
Because you're only rewarding these guys for the first half, and for some people part of the first half, when you're not like the people who have a great second half of the year get no recognition whatsoever unless they're on a playoff team. So, like, should they do second half of the year before and the first half of this year to make the stats more complete in Acuna's case, for example, and make the stats more complete as the best players in the game right now? Or that's option 1. Option 2 is you move the game and vote on the game at the end of the prior season, and you have the All-Star game before the season starts, or at the end of the season. And that way you have the entire body of work included in it.
Yeah, I would be okay with that. Well, isn't that supposed to be the idea behind the All-MLB team?
I don't know, but the point is that's not recognized on the field.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. So tweaking the All-Star game in some way to better represent statistics, because a guy has 2 or 3 good months. If something happens to Jacob Wilson and he falls off in the second half, yes, he was really good for 2.5, 3 months, but then he wasn't. So was he really an all-star for that season?
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. I don't disagree with it. So I really don't get the Jason Adams pick. Yes, he's got a 6-3 ERA, 6-3 record as a reliever, a 161 ERA, 44 2/3 innings, 52 strikeouts, 1.19 WHIP. He doesn't lead the NL in holds. If you're going to pick a non-closer, that's usually why it's the holds leader. That would be Abner Uribe of the Brewers. Um, yeah, I don't get the Jason Adams pick here. Uh, yeah, it really. Wow, who the hell picked the NL relievers this year? Because because you don't put Robert Suarez on there, you don't put Trevor McGill on there. So number 1 and number 2 in saves are not on there. Randy Rodriguez is not. Again, he's another setup man. Camilo Duvall is the primary closer out in San Francisco. I really I got a lot of questions about how the hell this National League squad was put together, pitching wise, especially in the back end. How do you leave your league save leader off? Again, same reason. How do you leave the league RBI leader off? Yeah. I got nothing, dude. I got nothing, and I very much I don't really agree with that at all. So yeah, all right. So some of the big snubs that I've been seeing, I've been reading around the leagues, different writers' takes and some of the bigger snubs. I know a lot of people are saying Joe Ryan of the Twins would have been a better pick than Byron Buxton. I'm okay with what they did. Buxton's absolutely earned a trip. Ryan's good, but he's not better than Bubik. He's not better than DeGrom or Eovaldi. It's just, I think they did fine there with the American League. Oh, geez, Joe, Shane Smith is actually a Rule 5 pick from last year. That's really scraping the barrel. That's really kind of scraping the barrel to pick a guy for your roster.
Well, like I said, I mean, there have been some flashes of brilliance, and I think they're not punishing him because he plays on one of the worst teams in the league. Although they could very well surpass my win projection before the All-Star break if they have a hot week this week. So
that's true. That's true. I love how many people are trying to call Juan Soto not making the roster as a snub. I'm sorry. I know people love Juan Soto. He's batting 263. He's got 21 home runs. He's got 51 RBIs. It's not an awful season. He leads the league in walks. Let's be real. We're just going to pencil Juan Soto in as the walk leader for every year that he is not hurt until he retires, because he probably will be. But it hasn't been a spectacular season overall for Soto. He sucks in the outfield, which we knew that going in, but he's has not been good in the outfield. And I don't think, obviously he's better than the Marlins. You have to have a pick guy, but I don't know that obviously people are going to say he should be in over Acuna. Okay, fine. But Juan Soto is not worthy of being an all-star this year. I don't understand why so many people are calling this one of the worst snubs we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, do I think there's potential for it to be a snub? Sure, but not nearly as drastically as everybody's making it. I think he's been really good for the better part of a month and a half, which is the argument they make against Acuna. But that's the bulk of where his good stuff has been. He didn't start off the year very well,
Mm-hmm.
and
He was awful.
And honestly, if he were, if not for a few injuries, he could have eventually been the full-time DH, but they've had a lot of injuries in some other spots where they would, maybe use McNeil in second and in left or what have you. So, he's an offensive player only. he's essentially, Barry Bonds in his later years, but he's younger.
Yeah. Yeah,
Where
agreed.
he's an offensive player only. He's not a defense. He's not on your
Yeah.
team for defense.
Yeah, Soto's not long to be moved
No.
to the DH permanently for the Mets.
Yeah.
They might be able to eke another year or two out of him in the outfield, but it's not going to be long until he is DH only, and then you're going to have another, $500 million plus player at just DH. Andy Pages was an interesting one for the Dodgers. I do think I actually had him initially on at least one of my ballots. He has had a really good first year. I don't think he's necessarily better than the guys that made it, but he should be, I think, one of the first outfielders picked if outfielders drop off because of injury or because they decline to play. Shortstop is loaded in the National League. I mean, the fact, Lindor and De La Cruz both made it. Trey Turner's been really good, and he didn't make it this year. It's wild how deep that position is right now. Eugenio Suarez did make it. Who else was I looking? Not Suarez. Geraldo Perdomo. That was the other guy in Arizona who I thought could have had a shot for shortstop or one of the infield spots. Abrams absolutely deserved to make it. I had no issues with that. We mentioned earlier, Mookie didn't make it. This is not a snub. Mookie has not played very well. But, to your point that you just made, by the end of the year, Mookie will probably still be one of the top picks for an all MLB squad. So,
It almost feels like to me, if you're going to make someone an all-star for a particular season, then that should be awarded at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Taking in the entire body of work as opposed to, they had a really hot 2 months, and then some of these guys will fall off, or some of these guys will get hurt, or, you have guys who are, hitting 20, 30 home runs at the break, and then they hit 10 the rest of the year because they hit in home run derby and changed their swing for an exhibition.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute. I don't know. Say a lot of the picks were good. Some of the picks, I'm just got a lot of questions.
I think to me the biggest nubs, particularly with the NL, is Seiya and Suarez. How do your save leader and your RBI leader not make the roster? I don't understand that.
I don't get it at all. It makes absolutely no sense to me. But what do I know? Not much, apparently. The only other we do know Sale won't be playing, obviously, because of injury. Who do you think is going to replace him? I'm thinking probably Christopher Sanchez of the Phillies would probably be my personal choice to replace him. Great year so far.
I think that would make sense to me.
Yeah. So we'll see that those announcements will be coming out over the next couple weeks. One other one for you. Do you think Alonso should have gotten the start over Freddie Freeman?
Personally, I would say yes, but I don't know. I mean, am I throwing a fit about it? No. I mean, like I said,
it's not.
The influence of fan vote here obviously makes a difference between those two. And the numbers, I think the entirety of the first half, I think it's such a nail biter. It's 6 and 1/2 dozen in the other. It's really not that big a deal at first base.
Yeah. Alonso has more power. He always has had more power, but Freddie's never been a pure power guy. He's always been a pure hitter. Freddie's the guy that he learned how to hit where if it's low and away, you take it the other way. You don't try to figure out a way to pull that and knock it over the wall, because if it's down and away, you're not going to be able to pull it anyway. And that's why Freddie consistently hits around 300 or better. So I think Freddie was the right choice personally. I like the pure hitter versus the power guy who tends to miss more. Although that said, I've got to say, Alonso has definitely shut anybody up who said that was a bad contract by his performance so far with Juan Soto protecting him in the lineup.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so we now have 4 confirmed recipients for the home run derby. The first one that was confirmed was Ronald Acuna Jr. And then it was I know Cal Raleigh, and then hold on, where's my list? Sorry, not to bubble through. Let's see. Where did I put it? Oh, I moved it, didn't I? Well, that was stupid of me. That's okay. So it's Ronald Acuna, it's Cal Raleigh, Byron Buxton was just announced today. Who else is in show? Because I'm blanking on the other guy.
I'll have to look. I didn't have that ready to go for you.
My bad. Hold on. No, I've got. Here we go. I got it right here. So it's Buxton. Yeah, Buxton was the one who was just announced today.
Right.
And Buxton is a Georgia guy, so that's actually pretty exciting. Let's see here. Why in the world? Sorry, slow
Oh,
internet.
James Wood from the National.
Oh, Wood. That's right. That's right.
The other one.
All right. So we have 2 more spots to reveal.
Is it's not 6 competitors, it's 8, isn't it? So there's
Oh yeah, you're right. We're halfway there.
2 from each league left.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because they do the round robin thing now instead. That's right. So just looking at some numbers here. Acuna, the longest home run of the year, 467 against the Padres. The longest one of the year for Cal was 440 at the Cubbies. For James Woods, it was 451 twice against the Marlins and the Dodgers. And for Byron Buxton, it was 479 against the Rangers back in the middle of June. Holy hell, 479. We might be seeing some real long ones because let's remember, it's down in Truist Park, which in the hot, humid summer, the balls fly out of to start with. You've got the short porch and right with the chop house. Joe, we might be seeing some nice long and high numbers of home run. We should definitely do a little better than we did last year in Seattle, to say the least.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably fair. I think you've got to, I think, give the edge to whoever the best lefty might be. I think is kind of the thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking lefty.
Raleigh is a switch hitter, so that, I mean, with the year he's having, maybe that's him. But I think that's if you're a betting person, that's who you're looking for is a lefty. Any of the lefties really.
Yeah, I mean Acuna can
like
blast it anywhere in that park. I've seen him do it, but I agree. I would tend to prefer. Although remember, if it's a lefty, the chop house wall is elevated, so you do still have to be able to get lift over there. You can't just rely on, like, the righties will be able to rely on those cheap, and I use the word cheap very loosely because these are major league hitters. Nothing's cheap. Those line drive home runs, the righties will get those. The lefties won't because of how high the chop house wall is.
Right.
Have you heard anything about who else might be on board? I really haven't heard much else. I heard Alonso has already declined, which surprised me a little bit, but I think Pete's done so many of these, has done so many home run derbies. And now that he's not consistently winning them anymore, I think he's kind of like, yeah, it's not for me anymore. Have you heard anybody else that's been interested or rumored to be in?
No, I haven't, but I mean, I'll be honest. It's one of those things where I've been less and less of a follower than I used to be.
Yeah, that's fair.
When it finally comes around, it's kind of like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, and I do still miss hearing hearing Chris Berman go back.
Yeah, all. I would like to see. I think this would be a fun way to change it up a little bit. Would be to bring in some of the radio announcers.
Oh, that would
They
be
have to be
great.
because they have to be so much more colorful when they describe it. I mean,
Yeah.
And of course they have more iconic lines than the TV crews do.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I think that would be a lot of fun, a way to jazz this up a little bit. To get me interested.
Yeah, does ESPN have it again?
I don't know, but I mean, you might as well give it to them one last time so they can, you know, walk
Screw it up
off
one
into
more
the
time.
sunset, and we can give it to somebody who actually cares about the game.
Yeah.
But whatever. That's
I saw, I can't remember if it was on Tomahawk Talk or somewhere else. Somebody was like, man, ESPN really has fallen down. They're showing the finals for cornhole over the All-Star game selection. Well, yeah, because MLB and ESPN have said, yeah, this is basically it. This is the last year for Sunday Night Baseball. ESPN doesn't want to invest more money into broadcasting MLB. So why would they care?
yeah. I mean, I think, and the home run derby might be a way to sort of placate the everybody gets a rep thing.
Yeah.
Because this is easily a spot where you could plug in insert obscure slugger here whose team is awful.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know,
Brent Rooker.
like that's a way to change this up a little bit. I would love to see them go to a full blown skills competition of sorts because
Oh, I
I,
would love that.
outside of the futures game and the home run derby and parts of the All Star game, like nobody cares about the softball game anymore.
No,
I
the
mean,
celebrity softball game's gonna run its course.
yeah, I would love to see them switch it up and do more of a skills comp. I mean, that was the thing. I wasn't a hockey fan, but you bet your ass I was watching the NHL All Star game because
Yeah.
the skills competition was awesome.
Oh, that's one of the best skills competitions there is.
Right.
NFL has done better in recent. Like I remember when we were growing up in like the '90s and 2000s, when the NFL did that full blown skills competitions. The field goal kickers were going for length and accuracy. The punters were going for accuracy for the coffin corner. You had running backs that were compared on their cut times and their flat out speed, and wide receivers on their hands. And remember the distance competition with the quarterbacks. Like the NFL used to set the bar for skills, and then the NHL said, "Hold my beer, we're going to one up it," and they absolutely have. I see videos from the Korean Professional Baseball League. They have a freaking bunt competition, and I'm watching that and I'm freaking excited. I'm like, why is this so damn exciting? Because they're so good at putting that bunt down exactly where they want it. Like,
Well, and it's a skill that's not used in the American game anymore. So I
no,
mean, I wish they would do something like that, but it's just there's got to be some ways to jazz this whole thing up to make it a lot more exciting because yeah, the home run derby's great, but you could easily have that with four participants and I would be happy.
yeah, yeah, it
Instead of
is a
eight.
little, it's a little overbloated. It is.
Yeah.
Um, and you also have even I read an article a year or two ago about the perceived idea of the home run derby screws up your swing for the rest of the year. And when you look at large chunks of data, when you look at like 15, 20 years worth of data, it really doesn't that much. There are definitely some guys that have had a serious drop off in the second half from playing in the home run derby, presumably, but that's really more of an old wives' tale. It's not really a cut and dried rule on that one. Um, you know what? Something else I'd like to see. I'd like to see not only do I want to see the shortstops and the third baseman snagging Ron Washington smacked ground balls their way. I want them to put the outfielders out there to see who's got the biggest cannon throwing to home. That would be fun to watch.
Why would we have that competition when we know who's going to win that one? So
That's true. It's gonna be Ronald Acuna. It's okay, Joe. Just forget
no, 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 no.
but that's why I would like to see that because there are a lot of outfielders right now that have ridiculous cannons on their arms. That'd be one I'd absolutely love to see. One more fun one that absolutely has no chance of ever happening. I want to give pitchers bats again. Let's set it let's set up zones in the outfield. If you get it here, you get a point. 2 points here, 3 points here, 4 points if you actually I want to see Max Fried because I know Max can hit. I want to bring Bartolo Colon out of retirement. I want to bring Carlos Zambrano out of retirement. Let's put bats back in these pitchers' hands and see if any of them remember which end to hold and how to swing. I know I'm full of horribly wonderful ideas, aren't I? Speaking of Ron Washington, he did announce about 2 weeks, or the Angels announced about 2 weeks ago, he is not going to be coming back this year. He is going to step away for the rest of the season for his health. They did not specify what was going on with Wash, but Wash, always going to love the guy from his time in Atlanta, and he's been all over the place. And I was really hoping he was finally going to get a chance to get a ring as the manager, but that's not going to happen right now. So hopefully, whatever's going on with Wash, he can get that resolved and be back in the dugout next year, because I think he was doing some really good things out there in Los Angeles.
Yeah, consummate baseball guy, and certainly wish him the best.
Yeah. All right, let's look down on the farm here. Both players this year are going to, or this week are going to be coming out of the International League. First from AAA Iowa of the Cubbies. Owen, is it Cassie or is it Casey? Casey. I knew I was going to screw it up. All right, last week /476, 560, 1.143. That's a 1.703 OPS. 5 games, 21 ABs, 9 runs, 10 hits, 2 doubles, 4 homers, 6 RBIs, 4 walks to 3 strikeouts. Did not have a stolen base recorded or caught stealing. That's a pretty damn good looking week, Joe.
Yeah, we'll see how many more weeks he has in a Cubs uniform, the way things are going in the trade market and all that. But
it sucks that you don't have a place for him. He's so good.
He is a special talent. And Canadian-born talent, I believe, too, which is even better. For growing the game. He's phenomenal. It's like you said, it's really a shame that we don't have a place for him. But I think had they not gotten Tucker in the offseason, I think he would have been on the major league roster.
Yeah, probably.
But having Tucker and having Tucker stay relatively healthy and only having Hap so far be the only outfielder who was out for any length of time, that certainly has benefited the Cubs in general, but it's certainly hurt Owen Casey as far as any chance of moving up.
Yeah. All right. And then the pitcher I picked for this week is Davis Daniel of the Gwinnett Stripers, Atlanta's AAA affiliate. 2 starts this week. He went 1-1 with a 2.25 ERA. He had 12 innings pitched, 9 hits, 3 earned runs, did not allow a home run, hit 1 batsman, 4 walks, 12 strikeouts, a whip of 1.08, and an average against of .214. That's a solid week, man.
Yeah, really.
And I don't know if he's on our 40 man yet, but I wouldn't be upset to say let's give him a shot. I mean, 5-7 doesn't look great, but he's got a 3.52 ERA, and with minor league guys, I care more about that and the whip than I do about the record, because let's be real, run support, as sporadic as it is in the majors, is even more sporadic in the minors. So I'd rather have him have any more starts than freaking DDAB, who I believe is starting tonight for us against Oakland. And if I'm not it's 10:00 start. So not only is he starting out in Oakland, we're going to throw a fresh young arm in a minor league park against major league hitting. Oh, this is going to go so well.
I will say this: deep straightaway center is I think 409 there. So I mean, it is a deep center field in that minor league park.
Yeah, center field's deep. The problem is it's not deep anywhere else, and it really carries out there.
Yeah.
And speaking of that park, I've got a minor gripe about that park. Not that it's their fault, but it's not. The Athletics are surprisingly not the gripe I have with it. The gripe I have with that park is the nonstop complaining I'm hearing out of the mouth of Luis Severino, who, despite signing the largest contract in the history of the club, is 2-10 with a 5.30 ERA. awesome work so far there. Where it really gets wild, Joe, is that his home away splits are absolutely ridiculous. So at home, let's see, do I have the right one here? Yeah. At home, he's 0-8 in 11 starts, the 7.04 ERA, striking out 47, walking 22, and allowing 8 home runs. On the road, he's 2-2 with a 3.04 ERA and only 8 starts, 26 strikeouts, 14 walks. Severino needs to stop bitching. You knew before you signed where your home park was going to be. Do I understand that he is very frustrated that hitters are absolutely teeing off in that ballpark? Yes, I get him being frustrated, but buddy, this one's on you. You didn't have to take the money and sign for the worst owner in baseball to play for 3 seasons probably in Sacramento before the park in Las Vegas is open. That's on you. You made the choice. You decided to take that money. Don't come complaining and whining to anybody else. That's 100% on you.
Yeah, I mean, knowing the park versus knowing how the ball plays in the park, I can kind of, see that as a learning curve to some extent. But I mean, going to a club where going from the Mets and the offensive firepower that was there to a team in Oakland who does have some Sacramento or whatever, a team with the Athletics who has some consistent offense, but not nearly the same amount. Like, you chose that part. You chose the run support part. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Plus, you're getting paid stupid money to play a kid's game. Like, shut the hell up and play ball.
Yeah, it's
a guaranteed contract. Shut up.
like I can't. The only person who should be complaining right now are the Athletics for him not figuring it out at home, and for the fans who have been excited to go see their highest paid pitcher play, and then he lays a goose egg for them every week. Let's remember, he signed this year for 20 mil, 25 mil for next season, and then it's a player option for 27 at 22 mil. So at this point, he's not even going to see the stadium in Las Vegas because his contract will turn before then. And if he pitches like this the next 2 years, Oakland's not going to bring him back to let him have a chance to pitch in Las Vegas.
No, they won't.
As they should.
Like I said, could you at least understand if it was, not knowing how the ball was going to carry a little bit? That part you don't know until you're pitching there. But the thing I have is the lineup part of this. Like, you knew what the team had before you signed there, and you knew what the team you left and didn't re-sign with had before you signed somewhere else. Like, that part is on you. The run support is on you. How the ball carries, I can't help that, and I don't think he can either. At least he can't know it until he pitches there. But yeah, the run support, the lineup around you, that's on you, pal.
Yeah, that's wow. So that's my mini read the room rant. Don't be an asshole. Look at what you have. Joe, did you have another read the roomish type rant tonight?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So while we were gone, Rays shortstop Wander Franco has been convicted on the charges in the Dominican Republic of the sexual abuse involving a girl who was 14 years old at the time of the crimes. Prosecutors are requesting a 5-year sentence in prison. The girl's mother is being sent away. I believe they're trying to get her away for 10 years for trafficking for the amount of money she accepted to make this possible. So, Rays fans, if you're listening, I'm sure you already assumed you'd never see Wander Franco again, but this is pretty much the nail in the coffin. MLB is going to suspend him for so long that by the time he's out of prison, he will be too old to consider a major league comeback. And if I were the Rays, I would be trying everything possible to get that massive deal he signed with them nullified under whatever clauses you have of not being an idiot, which are included in every contract clause. So, Wander Franco, it was nice to know you for all of 2.5 years. What an idiot. All right, let's see here. And then we have the guy in Arizona. This guy, season ticket holder, he has been kind of like the Steve Bartman of Arizona. It's just Arizona's never been good enough to get to the playoffs since he's been going to games for him to screw one up in the playoffs. Not yet. 5 incidents now where he has caused a fan interference incident. Why did it take Arizona so long to ban this guy? We know MLB uses facial recognition when you walk in the park. They have been doing that for years, at least 5 to 7 years now. Why are they only banning him now when it's very clearly stated in the terms and conditions of buying a ticket that you will not interfere with the ball while it's in play? You'll be ejected. And considering how much of a repeat offender he is now, what took so long? Do you have any idea on what could have taken, why they waited this long, Joe?
But I'm not super familiar with the entirety of his history other than being, fan interference. I don't know, beyond that, I'm not familiar with the rest of it. So,
okay. I just, the guy has done it how many times, and this is we're just now going to get around to banning you. That doesn't make any sense to me, but what do I know? I'm just a casual fan of the game.
Well, I mean, the one alternative to something to banning guys is to not allow them to sit in certain spots. Like, if you put this guy in the nosebleeds, he can't interfere. Like, this isn't hard.
Yeah.
Like you said, they use, certain, software. They by this point they have your credit card number because you buy tickets all the time. So like at some point you've got to start. You can police it on hey, we can't let this person buy tickets in level level A, whatever, this row, anywhere near the field. Like, there's other ways to go about this without banning the person for life, but whatever.
Yeah. I just can't. Now, on a good note, the fan that remember a couple weeks ago, we had the fan that was shouting things out at was it Ketel Marte about his mom who had passed away?
It was a one-off reference to his mother, and they were in Chicago, and I mean, I don't know for sure if the fan knew that the mom was dead. Maybe he did, but the mom had died when Marte was in Chicago before, like went playing a series in Chicago the last time, or not the last time, but whenever Ketel's mother died, they were playing in Chicago. So it was already a sensitive series for him to begin with, and then I think it was it wasn't necessarily like, it wasn't. I don't know if it was. I don't know the full context of what was said, but it didn't look like it was nearly as egregious as people thought. I think it was more the reaction from Marte that kind of drew a lot of increased scrutiny to it. I'm not saying whether it was right or wrong in any capacity, but I think it's, we make a lot of decisions in the initial moment, and I think with a little more context as to what was actually said, maybe he wouldn't have been banned. The fan wouldn't have been banned. But again, I feel like there's plenty of ways to still allow fans to come to games who maybe aren't the best by limiting where they can sit.
Yeah, that definitely wouldn't hurt. But yeah, he was. Yeah, I believe he was banned actually MLB wide. So whatever he said, MLB deemed it bad enough that he's not coming back. So. All right, so we've had some. The injury bug has, as it always does, has hit again. I did mention Sale last week. Schwellenbach now has a fractured elbow, so he is out until maybe September, maybe not. So yeah, yay Atlanta! It's not like we've been so healthy that we could afford to lose another pitcher and another one of our good pitchers. Gotta freaking love that. Let's see here. I did see that Griffin Canning did end up needing he did end up needing Achilles surgery. It did pop in that game against Atlanta. I feel bad. The guy was having a great year. Especially
Yeah.
after being dumped by the Angels to us. We DFA'd him because of how bad he was last year, and he's had a resurgent year with the Mets. It sucks to see it when you have a guy doing really well like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see here. I know Sanga's getting close. He's hoping to rejoin this week before the All-Star break for the Mets, and God knows the Mets need starting pitching really bad. Harper should be
Yeah, they
back.
really need him and McGill back. That's
Yeah.
been an issue for them, especially with some of the management of Holmes lately. Because every
Yeah.
inning you get out of Clay Holmes right now is a bonus inning that he never pitched before. So as far as just like, number of innings in a season. So I mean, to not be able to lean on McGill or Senga right now, and then having the Canning injury, that's just been brutal.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, and then let me see. There's one other injury note I saw. Where did I put it? Oh, Woodruff's getting ready to come back to the Brewers rotation, a guy that had been almost completely forgot of, returning from Tommy John. So I know the Brewers will be excited to have him back because they signed him last year to a 2-year. We know we're not going to have you for the first year. We'll have you for the second year. Let's see what you have. And I think it's a team option then for a third year if they're comfortable with how he looks coming back. So I did see Tyone went on the IL. Are they expecting a long IL stint for Tyone?
Yeah, it's going to be at least a month, if not more.
Okay.
It wasn't anything in a game. It was in like a run after a bullpen.
That's
So
insane.
it is what it is. They have Shota back. They'll be making some trades here for pitching, I'm sure, between now and the next week or so.
Yeah.
So I mean, they'll be fine. The fact that they've had Matthew Boyd, who's had an amazing year this year after coming off injury,
Yeah.
and has been a lifesaver for them. The fact that Shota's back now, they've had more than satisfactory results out of Cade Horton being up. So I'm really not too worried about Tyone being down. He was having a bit of a rough go over the last few starts. So, we'll see what happens with him.
Yeah, absolutely. The Pirates, Jared Jones did have Tommy John for the UCL injury. All right. And then Nolan Arenado. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame someday. He hit 2 more milestones over the past couple weeks. Hit number 1,900 and his 400th double. So Arenado, absolutely fantastic work. As always, as much as it drives me nuts to say it sometime, he is one hell of a player. And then Clayton Kershaw, man, 3,000 strikeouts. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, given some of his issues in the last few years, I don't think we were 100% sure he was going to get there, but the fact that he got there, has the most masterful curveball I think I've ever seen. So,
Beautiful curveball.
congratulations to him on such a milestone, and that video of them taking out the pitching rubber to give him was pretty
That was
remarkable. I didn't realize how far that thing got buried. So
No, I didn't realize, one, how heavy the damn thing is, and two, how deep it's buried into the
yeah,
freaking rubber, into the mound. That's a really, really, really cool trophy to take home for your 3,000th strikeout. Not gonna lie. And let's
yeah, for
remember,
sure.
Clayton Kershaw has done that, and he has only ever pitched for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. If he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, I'm going to be shocked. I know he only has the 216 wins. He's never had 100 losses. He's at 216 and 94. Career ERA is at 252. 3,000 strikeouts in 2,787 and a third innings. A career whip of 1.014. We're not going to see another 300 game winner.
No,
He's
that number is definitely not the metric anymore.
Yeah, he's not going to, he's had a lot of injuries over the years, but he also has an MVP award as a pitcher, which remember, that's hard as hell to do. He's got 3 Cy Youngs, 10 All-Star appearances. He won the Triple Crown. He has his World Series ring from 2020. He has 1 Golden Glove. Excuse me. He's won the ERA title 5 times. He is a Clemente Award winner, which I know doesn't mean anything for the stats or anything like that, but that means something to me. He also was awarded the TSN MLB Player of the Year as well. I know the win total's not super high, but he's been one of the most dominant pitchers since he entered the league. And his rookie year wasn't great because he only made 21 starts, and then he dialed it in immediately after that. He had a 301 strikeout year in 2015, and he didn't even win the Cy Young that year. Like, that's insane. His Cy Young year, where he also won the MVP, or his third Cy Young when he also won MVP that year, might have been one of the finest years we've ever seen pitching. 21-3, a 177 ERA, and only 27 starts. He threw 6 complete games, which again I know is a rarity. 198 in the third innings. He allowed 139 hits, 39 earned runs, 9 homers, only 31 walks, 239 strikeouts. That's nuts. That's a whip of .857. That's incredible, man. Like, that's video game numbers.
It's exciting. He's been it's one thing when they have the numbers. It's another thing when they're an A+ human on top of it, and he's been an A+ human. So, all the credit in the world to Kershaw. Congrats, man.
Yeah. That was the big milestone for this year. I'm really happy he got to it. I really am. So let me see. Joe, were there any other major milestones that hit this past year? Or excuse me, this past 2 weeks that past year?
I don't think so. No, those were the main ones.
Okay.
Since the last show. So
good. All right. Yeah, I think that was all the big ones I saw too. I didn't see. Yeah. Nope, that one we covered a couple weeks ago. All right, cool. All right. So let's roll it into the hot list now. I will freely admit Joe's got better hot list guys than I do this week. He has been paying more attention than me, but I found one guy that I thought played well enough to earn it. Trevor Story of the Red Sox slash line last week of 480, 500, .96, 7 runs, 3 homers, 10 RBIs, a stolen base, 12 hits, 3 doubles, 1 walk, and 2 strikeouts. That's a pretty darn good week in my book. How about you, Joe?
Yeah, the 2 that I have, at least hitter wise, I have George Springer from the Blue Jays, 462, 517, 1038, with the OPS of 1555, 9 runs on 12 hits, 5 homers, 13 RBIs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, and a stolen base. And then Michael Busch from the Cubs, 565, 615, 1174, OPS is 1789. 7 runs on 13 hits, 2 doubles, 4 homers, 7 RBIs, 2 walks, and 8 strikeouts. The strikeout number's not great, but part of that might be because he actually got to go up against left-handed pitching for once. So, hey, a fantastic week for him. He was the NL Player of the Week when it came to hitting this week. So,
As he should have been. Holy crap.
It's nice to see him get some recognition for the effort he's been putting in, especially with limited appearances, with not hitting primarily against lefties.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing that they're going with the hot bat this time around, and hopefully Council continues to give him that opportunity.
And that is actually one milestone I forgot to mention. The Cubbies with that franchise record 8 home runs in a game. Holy hell, dude!
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
I mean, Bush had 3 of them, and then PCA had 1 or 2. I think he had 2 actually. So between PCA and Michael Bush, that was 5 of the 8 on Friday. So people in Chicago, they had 4th of July fireworks at 3:00 in the afternoon. So that was pretty impressive. Unfortunately, people didn't see it because it was on Apple TV, but whatever.
Oh man, of course that had to be the freaking Apple TV game. Oh god.
Of course it did. That's the only thing that makes any sense. So that's a phenomenal week for Bushy, and a phenomenal week for the Cubs in general as far as hitting goes in the series against the Cardinals in particular.
Yeah.
And then your Moneyball hitter this week is Aaron Judge, 450, 586, 1,000 slug, 1586 for that OPS. 7 runs on 9 hits, 2 doubles, 3 homers, 7 RBIs, 7 walks, and 4 strikeouts.
Not bad. Wow.
I mean, you take out, so he has 4 singles essentially for the week, and then with the 7 walks, he's got another 7 singles. The guy has 11 singles with walks on the week. Like, that's ridiculous.
That's absolutely ridiculous. One other thing I want to mention before we move to the pitchers. I want to give a shout out to the Pittsburgh Pirates for their 3-game series against St. Louis, shutting them out every single game without using Paul Skeens. Bravo, Pirates. Bravo.
You know what's even better about that for the Pirates is that they swept the Cardinals in shutouts, and then in the weekend series got swept in shutouts 3 games in a row. They're the first team to ever do that. So if you're talking about milestones, there you go, Pittsburgh. Good job.
I saw that. Yeah, they were in Seattle. And the best part is Saturday, Sunday were both 1-0 shutouts.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
And I'm sure at least was one of those a skiing start. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it had to be one of them. One of them had to be Skeens since he didn't pitch during the other series.
Actually, I don't see him on record at all in any of those. No, his last one was Milwaukee. 1, 3, 4, 5, 1. Oh, he should have started the game against St. Louis that they won 1-0. Oh, he was probably pulled before. Yeah, he was probably pulled before the.
He doesn't get the win.
Yep,
yeah.
That's why. Yep, that makes sense. Shocker there. And I think he was. I think if I'm right, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he pitched yesterday then and got the no decision because they probably scored that run late too.
Right.
Boy, if that's not the most Pirates-like storyline that I've ever heard, I don't know what is. We were at my wife's cousin's party on Saturday, and a bunch of the family that was there are actually Pirates fans. So it was fun to talk. These guys are like, yeah, I got to see Skeens pitch the other day. Oh my God, I've never seen anything like it. I'm like, enjoy it while it lasts. I hope he doesn't have Tommy John anytime soon because it is fun to watch him pitch. He is really good. We'll see about it though. They're like, yeah, he didn't pitch much in college. He doesn't have as much weight. I'm like, he's throwing 100 miles an hour regularly enough. It doesn't matter. He'll have Tommy John at some point. Just hopefully it's way down the road and not soon. All right, top pitchers. I think the first one I'm gonna highlight is gonna be for Jason since he's not here. Zach Wheeler had a hell of a week last week. In 2 starts, he went 2-0. He had a complete game in there, 17 innings, struck out 22, ERA of 0.53, a WHIP of 0.41. He only gave up 1 earned run at all last week, 7 hits, and that 1 earned run was on a solo shot that ended up not mattering anyway. That's not too shabby at all.
No.
22 freaking strikeouts. That guy needs to be the starter for the NL. He really does.
He does.
he has more than earned it this year. The way he's pitched, it would be criminal if he doesn't get it. But I'm sure they'll pick Paul Skeens because he's the popular guy right now for pitching.
Yeah, really.
I off hopping up on the up behind me on the dresser. Let's see. One other guy. I'm having such a hard time finding anything positive about Atlanta this year. Grant Holmes was a guy that we didn't think was going to make our rotation and has ended up actually being an extremely important piece of it. Last week, he went 0-1 in his 2 starts, but in 12 innings, he struck out 15. He only had an ERA of 1.5, a whip of 1.08. He only gave up 2 earned runs, 7 hits, and 6 walks and a homer. Like the dude's doing everything he can. He's not getting run support, and it's showing with results like that. So, wanted to give him a shout out because I think he's the de facto ace for the time being. He'll be the de facto number 2 behind Spencer Strider with Sale out hurt and with Schwellenbach out hurt. So wanted to give a shout out to a guy that even I at the start of the year wasn't expecting hardly anything out of him, and he has been a very pleasant surprise.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Joe, your top pitchers. There were a lot.
One of them is the aforementioned Matthew Boyd with the Cubs. 2-0, 12 innings, 8 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 14 strikeouts, a whip of .83, a batting average against of 190. Really, the reason the Cubs are still in first place right now is because of Matthew Boyd. It's insane. What he's done this year, coming off of the injuries he's had the last few years. So he was one of them. And then Edward Cabrera from the Miami Marlins, who hopefully within the next 3 weeks is on the Cubs. 1-1 this week in his 2 starts, 14 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, 2 hit batters, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts, a .57 whip, a 146 batting average against.
Not bad. Let me throw George Kirby on there too. He went 2-0 in his 2 appearances, 12 1/3, 14 strikeouts as well, .73 ERA, .57 whip, 1 earned run, 7 hits. Not bad. No walks as usual.
Not bad at all.
All right, Joe, the adulting reliever of the week, please.
So we're going to have 2 this week. I don't normally like to do that, but it just feels like they both had essentially identical lines, and I couldn't choose. So the first one is Andres Munoz from Seattle, 3 for 3 in save opportunities, 3 innings pitched, no hits, no runs, 4 strikeouts. And then the other one is Ronnie Henriquez from the Marlins, 2 for 2 in save opportunities. He won the other appearance he had on the week. 3 innings, no hits, no runs, 5 strikeouts.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. That's damn well done. All right, hot teams for the week. Well, it's definitely not going to be the Cleveland Guardians, who are on an 0-10 run right now and have absolutely plummeted out of even the wild card standings at this point, the way they're playing in what is the weakest division in baseball, the AL Central. I'm going to give my hot team pick, Joe, to the Toronto Blue Jays, who are on an 8-game winning streak and are 9-1 over their last 10, and will probably beat the ever-loving hell out of the hapless White Sox tonight with all the momentum on their side right now. And yeah, I hate to give a shout out to the Astros, but they did sweep the Dodgers in Los Angeles for the first time in ages, while also beating them 18-1 in one game and setting the new record for the largest loss by the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium in team history. And of course, I saw Orel Hershiser had to make a comment after the game. Looked like some of the Astros hitters knew when those curveballs. Orel, shut the hell up. There has been absolutely no evidence that the Astros have been cheating outside of the friendly confines at all anytime recently. The Dodgers, your old Dodgers, just sucked really badly, and that's all there is to it. Come on, give me a break.
That's exceedingly rich coming from you, who doesn't let that whole controversy ever die.
No, I know, but like, come on. We all know when it happened at home. It never happened on the road. Like, shall we look at how bad those splits were in that World
No,
Series?
let's not revisit that.
Like, come on. And coming from Hershiser, who, let's be real, if there was a guy who knew how to sneak a scuff ball into a game or use a scuff ball for way long after it should have been thrown out, Oral Hershiser's your guy. He came from that era when pitchers did their best not to let those balls get thrown out. And one thing I was happy to see, the winning pitcher in that game was Lance McCullers Jr. Just one more of a middle finger to the fans who decided to send death threats to him, his family, and his kids after he had one poor outing coming back from Tommy John. Good to see McCullers sticking it to him.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, your hot team?
The Tigers, the 7-3 in their last 10. They are on a 3-game winning streak entering games tonight. They're phenomenal. They are phenomenal this year. It is just unreal to watch that.
My dad has long been a Tigers fan. Like because we're not because we're where we are, and I've been a Braves fan since I was little. He's kind of adopted my fandom, to root with me. But my dad has always, he spent a year out at University of Michigan and fell in love with the Tigers while he was out that way. And still holds a soft spot for the Tigers. So with Atlanta performing as poorly as they have, I'm really glad my dad gets to see the Tigers do well this year, because that is a damn good baseball team this year.
Yeah, definitely.
And their number of all-star picks definitely reflects that as well. All right, Joe. It was a 2-week gapper with all the issues going on in my house last week. Hopefully, we're good to go for the rest of the summer. We hopefully won't see any more issues with the house, any more horrible weather, I hope, up here. God knows those were some nasty, nasty storms. Hopefully, we won't be seeing that again anytime soon. Joe, did I miss any other big news over the last week and a half that you wanted to bring up?
No, you did not.
Perfect. Go me. I didn't screw that up. Awesome. One programming note for the fans. Jason's going to be taking a little break for the rest of the year. Jason's running for borough council over in Ephrata, where he lives. So he is going to be devoting his summer to his campaign run. So he apologized that he just doesn't really have the time to keep a close enough eye to hop on. He might jump in here and there, or he'll keep leaving comments for us in the group chat. We will keep forwarding them along during the episodes as they come up. So Jason, good luck with everything. We'll see you back in the fall, and after the World Series, absolutely we'll be excited to have him back when we have our post-season wrap-up. All right, guys, audio recordings are available on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, anywhere you can find podcasts. We're live on Facebook as well as YouTube. Merchandise is at redbubble.com/people/DDAB-podcast. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/dollardogsandbeer. We're presented by Dark Arrow Podcast LLC and sponsored by Baron Barbershop over in Manheim. As you can see from the beard, I very much need to go over and visit Johnny and get that thing tamed back a little bit. It's getting a little wild. Guys, may your dogs always cost $1. May your beer always be cold. We'll see you next week.